From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Fuller, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. Gun violence and poverty, issues we find ourselves talking about once again. Recently, a 15-year-old was shot and killed. The person accused of committing the crime is only 14 years old. Addressing the issue of violence is a top priority for everyone. Here's more now from Jatera McGee.
A promising high school sophomore shot and killed on his 15th birthday.
I think heartbreaking is the word.
Grief counselors are on hand at Dawn Community High School, helping students mourn the loss of Sean Lewis. Superintendent Raymond Davenport says he was at the top of his 10th grade class and part of a special program.
It's called the Young Men's Academy, and it's geared towards, we want to keep our young men focused and, in their minds on school and not in the streets.
The shooting scene unfolded just before 10 p.m. near Orchard and Main Streets and Over the Rhine. Cincinnati police say there was a brief altercation before the shooting and that a 14-year-old was the one holding the gun.
The fact that he was 15 years old, that's a tragedy, and then it's a double tragedy that the assailant is 14 years old.
Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney echoes the thoughts of leaders across the city that root issues like trauma and poverty need to be uprooted.
This is our society now, and we have to change it. We have to change it. And we're working on it, long-term and short-term.
Finding what works is the hard part.
In the short time, it's a matter of mentorships. That's a big thing of, those who have a positive adult in their lives tend not to be the ones who are out here with guns shooting people.
We have to start teaching them de-escalation skills. All of that stuff needs to be in the schools every single day because I see it firsthand.
We have to help their families pull themselves out of poverty because there's no reason that young children, anybody really, should be walking around with a gun like that. Just
some senseless violence is occurring in our city, and this youth violence is just completely out of control.
And with me now is Paul Booth with the Office of Human Relations with the City of Cincinnati. And Paul, first of all, welcome. We talk about this issue of crime, this latest incident, a 14-year-old accused of shooting and killing a 15-year-old. I mean, it's painful to really hear things like that.
So unfortunate, so tragic, so unnecessary, and it's really, really plaguing our community almost every day. And you, as you well know, you almost hate to turn on the news. I hate to say that, but it's just you feel like you're gonna hear that either in the evening or in the morning, and it's just so unfortunate. It's something we got to get our arms around.
We've talked about this before. How things have changed. What do you think really has changed over the past 20 plus years, 20, 30 years to get us to this point? Look, crime has always been there. Gun violence has always been around, but nothing like what we're seeing now.
Well, I think there are obviously changes in our homes, changes in our community. Certainly the increase of poverty, joblessness, drugs are a big factor, all that. So there's a multitude of things that, we're not there, that were there when I came along many years ago now, but seemingly not as prevalent. So I think the prevalence and the increase of those kinds of issues and problems in our community are part of the cause.
And solutions? I mean, we've gone the gambit of trying to find solutions. I mean, churches, schools, community organizations have reached out, tried to address the issue, but more is needed.
Sure. And obviously there's no one solution, there's no catch-all, there's no fix-all. We just have to continue to have a community approach. It's going to involve families, it's going to involve community, it's going to involve government, it's going to involve police entities and other organizations continuing to work together to address the problem. I think one of the big things is community. You know, the thing of if you see something, say something is so important. I know I hear from our officers time and time again that individuals just aren't willing to talk. But if you see something in your community, if you see something in your area that you know is out of order, or you know something's about to jump off, you need to make it known.
Coming up next, our discussion continues with a look at a memorial project that remembers the lives of victims of gun violence. When Let's Talk Cincy returns. Welcome back. With me is Paul Booth with the Office of Human Relations for the City of Cincinnati. We were talking about some of these issues of crime, especially, you know, we see the young people involved, but we fail to remember a lot of times the people who are left behind from these victims. And this program that the city has been a part of and your office has been a part of, talk a little bit about that and how beneficial that is for the families of victims. Yeah,
you're right. That's one thing that we really don't think about and we don't consider is the after effect, the residual of the killings, the residual of the shootings, how the families have to continue to cope after that. We have two sons, and I just couldn't imagine losing one of them to gun violence or to anything else for that matter. And so families are left with a lifetime of missing their loved one and having lost their loved one. So our office, the Office of Human Relations, has been involved with an object collection event. This is our second one, and these events happen all over the country. It's a partnership with Everytown, and I'm probably missing part of that, the Office of Human Relations and the Recreation Commission. So essentially what happens is that families who have lost one to gun violence can bring a memorial object of that marking that person's life. It might be a shoe, it might be a medallion they wore, it might be pictures, a number of things. And these items are collected, and we collect them here. And again, it's done all over the country. Pastor Jackson is the lead person here in Cincinnati in his capacity with Everytown. But anyway, these objects are collected, and then they're placed in, I'm going to call it a glass house. It's like a glass brick in Washington. And it's really an effort to bring some closure, I'm not going to say total closure, to the family who has lost their loved ones. And not only a matter of bringing closure, but it's a way to memorialize their son, their daughter, who's tragically been killed. When you see those memorials in our communities, it draws attention to the fact that something has happened. And it does, and that's the reason that the families and other members of the community have these memorials, is because, you know, they want to remember that person. That person is physically gone, but this gives the families and others an opportunity to remember their lost loved one.
You've had two of these events, and I know, do you have plans to continue to do this, or have another one?
We will do. This is the last one of this year. In fact, the one we had is the last one in the country for the year, and then sometime next year we will pick them up. But I do want to remind persons, if you ever get a chance to go to Washington, I believe it's in the Building Memorial Museum. If I'm wrong on that, you can certainly look that up. But it'll give you a chance to go there. And Cincinnati has contributed, I believe, at least 50 memorial events. The first event we had was huge. We just had a great event, and again, we are going to continue it.
Excellent. All right, Paul. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Always great to be with you.
This is a great program. Up next,
Is there a link between youth violence and poverty? According to Hamilton County Juvenile Court, murder suspects over the last 2 years were an average age of 16. 80% had mental health diagnoses. 80% also had prior involvement with social services. More when Let's Talk Cincy continues.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. There is encouraging news about Black-owned businesses here in Greater Cincinnati. A recently released financial study by UC's Economics Center shows the big impact these businesses are having on our local economy.
The economic impact of Black-owned businesses in the four-county area is $2.1 billion. $2.1 billion. So this is going to help Black-owned businesses understand the financial impact that they have.
Hamilton County had the highest number of businesses within the four-county study area. Black-owned businesses operating in Hamilton County are responsible for generating more than $1 billion in direct economic output and supporting more than 3,000 direct jobs, with a total earnings of more than $168 million. In 2022, Black-owned businesses generated considerable economic impacts for the four-county study area in output, jobs, earnings, and tax revenue as a result of their operations expenditures.
My name is Aretha Fur. I am the owner of A-List Cleaning and Transportation. Transportation being 90% of our business and 10% being cleaning. The story of this business came apart as my mother, she was a W amputee. Years ago, she passed in 2012. And oftentimes she would go to repeatedly dialysis and medical appointments, and she often complained about the level of service that she was receiving at the given time. Make a long story short, this brand was introduced 2 years ago, and last week we had our 2-year anniversary. And what we have done was we created a better brand for our community that will give our elderlies and other customers as well a better level of transportation. Sunday, we gave away our first scholarship in honor of our mother, $4,400, and that was given to a single parent who was having problems and trouble getting their child to and from school. So it was our honor to grant that wish.
This type of study is critical. For those who had any doubt as to the value of Black-owned businesses, this kind of study should put that to rest. And we were talking about billion-dollar impacts throughout the region. And so if you are an entrepreneur that you're thinking that you want to start a business in a place that might potentially encourage your business's growth, I think this shows that Southwest Ohio has the potential to be that place.
And so this data can be used to persuade people to get new business. It can help communities decide where to spend their money. It also says to the general community that Black businesses are viable, that we are strong, that we provide jobs, that we help with the tax base, and that we are worth supporting.
With me now is the president and CEO of Santa Maria Services here in Cincinnati, H.A. Musser. And first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You have been there for 38 years.
Right.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Santa Maria. Give some background on it, celebrating its 125th anniversary.
Right. So Santa Maria Community Services was founded in 1897 by a couple of women from out at Mount St. Joe University. They were Sisters of Charity, Sister Blandina and Justina from Italy. And they were sent downtown to help work with the Italian immigrants that were showing up down on the river and arriving in Cincinnati. So our job early on was to help them get acclimated to life in America. Soon after that, in the early 20th century, there were a lot of other immigrant groups from other countries and continents that showed up, and we were the first stopping point for them to get them established in Cincinnati and teaching the language and getting them interested and enrolled in school and work and so forth. So we were downtown and over the Rhine in the West End until the 60s, moved to Price Hill on the west side of Cincinnati about 50 years ago.
You deal with an issue that is one that impacts so many communities, and that's poverty. Talk about the numbers with respect to poverty in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the 2020 census that we just completed says that 1 in 4 children in Hamilton County is living at the poverty level or below. That's an even higher concentration in the city of Cincinnati. It's 39% of the population. Santa Maria's work is really to strengthen families. That's what our purpose is, and that includes helping families with their goals around education, around health, but also whatever else we're doing with families, we want to talk to them about their money and see what they can do to improve their income, learn how to save, build credit, and build some wealth equity for their families. So we feel like it's very important that families get their kids ready for kindergarten and have all of the resources they need, but at the same time they're working on improving their income and strengthening their family financially.
When you hear 1 in 4, this is not an issue that we've ignored as a community. So to hear that it's still, 1 in 4, I mean, that's troubling,
Right.
because how do we get beyond this?
Right. The Free Store Food Bank estimates that there are 76,000 children in the tri-state area that are food insecure, meaning they're not sure where their next meal is going to come from. And that is just a kind of a horrifying statistic. But we believe at Santa Maria that there are solutions, that we need to work with the whole family. Obviously, if children are in poverty, that means the family. The household has some deficits in terms of income and wealth, and so we believe there are ways to strengthen those families and get them on a better path for the future.
And these are just the numbers that you can document. And the other issue is the notion of the working poor. There are people who might not look like they're struggling, but they're struggling.
Sure. Yeah, people might be surprised to know, but the federal poverty level is about $27,000 a year for a family of 4. But we know that people can't live on that today. So the generally accepted standard is about twice that level. If people want to really, families want to have enough money to be somewhat self-sufficient, be able to pay their bills, they really need double that. So that's $55,000 for a family of 4. And if folks are making less than that, they're going to be struggling.
It seemed like we might have learned something from the pandemic, because we saw organizations all over the country, especially here in Cincinnati, helping. In fact, it seemed like we had an abundance of resources to assist families. Did we learn something from that?
Yes, I think the United Way, the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, lots of organizations, the federal government, came up with funds to help people through the crisis. We distributed hundreds of thousands of dollars in direct assistance in food and rental and utility assistance. That was all sort of a one-time shot, and our purpose historically has been to work with families over the long haul. We're not as interested in handing out food or rental assistance unless we're really engaged with the family. We know they're working on goals for their family to improve their condition, and then we're ready and willing to help. But we know that just doing emergency kinds of assistance is not going to get families where they need to be.
Thank you. This is good information, and it's something that we need to continue to talk about.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll be back in a moment. As always, we want to hear from you. Email us your ideas. The address is ltc@wlwt.com. And remember, you can always watch full episodes or get more information on wlwt.com/letstalkcincy. Also on our very local app. You can also listen to Let's Talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And finally today, there is also some encouraging news just released by the American Association for Cancer Research. Death rates are falling, and there are now 18 million cancer survivors here in the U.S. The research is working, at places like the Barrett Cancer Center here in Cincinnati. This is one of the reasons so many people came out and took part in this year's Ride Cincinnati event.
It was a celebration of a commitment that our riders had made to raise as much money as they possibly could for cancer research and care right here in Cincinnati. Rides, it's in its 16th year now, has raised $5.5 million for cancer research. That does not include what we're going to raise this year, and we're still getting after it. We've got 60 days left before the fundraising deadline, so we're going to get there. There are a few things more important than what we're trying to do to transform the state of cancer research and care here in Cincinnati. Every rider-raised dollar goes to funding that research. At the Barrett Cancer Center at UC, of course, but we've also invited some other hospitals to get involved, to bring teams to the ride, and any money their teams raise goes back to their respective cancer programs. So this really is a community-wide effort to elevate the state of cancer research and care here in Cincinnati. Dr. Bill Barrett, who co-chairs the Cancer Center, the Barrett Cancer Center, has talked about it in these terms. You know, nobody wants to face this adversary, but if you do, we want Cincinnati to be the very best place to be. We raised more than $1 million last year, and the clinical strides that Dr. Barrett and the other amazingly talented team of oncologists and other staff are making at the Barrett Cancer Center are really impressive. Ride Cincinnati itself has funded 57 research grants over the years, and to hear him talk about some of the really meaningful, practical benefits, the promising new discoveries and treatments that are being enabled through this funding really drives home the benefits of all the effort that those who are involved in this are making. So there's a lot to be proud of and a lot to look forward to. We had a team of over 200 riders, well over 200 riders out there, and it's just one more way that we like to give back to the community, and we're able to do that with the support, blessing, and encouragement of John Barrett and Western Southern.
Well, that does it for the program today. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time for another edition of Let's Talk Cincy.